Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Bills Guys vidcast presented by the Buffalo Fanatics. Again, we air tonight, Monday nights, and every Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. My name is Steve Mathis. You can find me on Twitter at Judge Mathis, and I am joined today by my co-host, as always. I don't know why I said today. As always, I am joined by my co-host, Dave Tilton. You can find him on Twitter at Tilt Money. Together, we are the Bills Guys. So our handles go away and our show handle pops up here. That's where you can find us at Twitter. If you are one of those people who are willing to put up with the politics and all the nonsense on Twitter, you can come find us on Twitter at the Bills Guys. Dave, the countdown continues. We are 82 days away from football.
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe we need to count down every 2 weeks, just so it feels like we're actually making a dent in that 82 days. I've got my Labatt here tonight helping me through the show, and it's helping me get through this summer, man, until we get to some real football. But 80 days, I just feel like, we're finally starting to make some progress here. We're going to talk about it today on some of the milestones that have been happening in the world, so to speak. So yeah, man, it's going to be here sooner than we know it. Once we kind of get back to a little bit of our normal lives here in the next couple of weeks with the quarantines and things like that ending, I think time will start kind of flying by again, and we'll be talking about training camp preseason here before we know it.
Yeah, for sure. And then if you take a look at the bottom scroll there, you will notice that we are shouting out our super chatters, the people who hit us up with the super chats over the last two shows. We want to thank everyone who's a super chatter. Come find us on Twitter. Again, if you are on Twitters, slide into our DMs. Our handle is the Bills Guys. And, we will shout you out on Twitter. We'll make sure your Twitter handle gets up here so the Bills Mafia can find you. And we're going to start doing giveaways with some Buffalo Fanatics swag every month for our super chatters. So make sure you are a super chatter. I know this is our third show now. And one of the things that we're trying to do, and I think one of the things that we're doing pretty well, is I don't think you can name a show out there right now in the Bills Mafia community that does a better job with fan engagement. We truly want to make this a show by the fans for the fans. So we're going to be communicating with you guys all night. We're going to be communicating with our super chatters. We're going to be posting your comments. We're going to be talking about what you guys want to talk about. So make sure that you guys are interacting with us in the comment section. Mm-hmm. You mentioned you were drinking a Labatt Blue. Mm-hmm. I have here this is brand new. I think it's new-ish. It's the Blue Moon Light Sky. It is like Blue Moon's version of a Michelob. Trying to keep that quarantine body in check since I can only do, those aerobic exercise. Can't get my.
That's why I'm wearing the baggy. I'm wearing the baggy.
So feel free in the comments section to chime in with what you are drinking tonight. If you are joining this Bills Guys happy hour here on this Memorial Day Monday, which brings us, Dave, into our first topic for today, which is some big news, some breaking news. Our lead story, Andrew Cuomo, governor of New York, announced today that sports franchises can begin their training camps if they are ready. First and foremost, what is your take on this news? We're gonna coin this. Hold on one second here. We're gonna coin this Tilt's take.
Okay, so this is interesting. So I'm going to talk about it more in the context of sort of the bigger picture here when it comes to the sports landscape. So we know with the COVID situation that New York has been the hardest hit state. So with Cuomo coming out and saying that teams located in New York can start, opening up and doing these activities, training camps, I think what this really tells me is that this is the first major milestone that we have towards a return to normalcy in the sports world. And obviously in this show and most fans watching this show, we're concerned about the NFL and the Bills specifically. So this is a great first step. And I think that's the way we need to look at this. This is a first step of many that need to take place before we kind of get back to a little bit of normalcy. We know this is just New York. We know that the NFL is going to have its own rules that they apply to these return to work, right? Return to practice, whatever, workouts, whatever. So there's a long way to go still, but these are the steps that have to happen before we kind of get back. We're going to obviously, down the road talk about when, if we get onto a normal schedule, if fans are going to be in stadium. But again, this is step one and it's a good first step. I am sort of the opinion that we're going to see how it works, right? Like there's a lot of thought out there that maybe it's too early. Is it not too early? Are people just trying to get back? So I'm going to kind of reserve like that sort of to the side and just talk about this from the sports context, that this is the needed first step we need. And it's pretty big news, I think, because we're not even in June yet. So
yeah, I totally agree with most of your take. I think looking at it from the outside perspective, this is a pretty simple story because you just look at it and you smile because you're confident that 80-day countdown that we just did is accurate. That training or that preseason games will be a go when it's time for preseason games to go. Whether there be fans in the stands or not, who knows? Whether they'll all be playing in one location, who knows? You start to feel confident that 80-day timer is actually, that countdown is actually accurate. So hope comes to mind. I saw a whole lot of jokes and maybe even some misconceptions on Twitter that I want to address with my take here. You know, a lot of people like to have fun with the fact that the New York Giants and the New York Jets are located in New Jersey. But that I'm pretty sure the Jets training camp is on Long Island, which is in New York. So this isn't really going to affect the Jets training camp. It's probably not even going to affect the Giants training camp. The NFL has made it really, really clear. Like they said, NFL teams, you can start heading back to your facilities if your states allow it. But if you're on the coaching staff or you're on a player, you can't step foot in an NFL facility until everyone can step foot in their NFL facilities. The NFL really cares about being equitable. The NFL really cares about its parity and its fairness. So I don't think that people who are saying like, oh, this is an advantage to the Bills because other teams aren't going to be able to hold their training camps. Like maybe it's an advantage that the Bills can actually still hold it at St. John Fisher. I doubt it. My guess is they'll probably stay in Orchard Park in a concealed environment. I don't think we'll see them at St. John Fisher this July, but still like the Bills will be able to still stay home. I guarantee you there are other teams in other states that are probably being more stricter. Now, it doesn't mean they're not going to get training camp. It just means that they might have to go to another state for training camp. They might have to leave their comfort zone a little bit. But for people who think, well, the Bills are going to get a jump start on training camp, like that's not going to happen. So I just want everybody to be clear that the NFL is making sure, that there is parity. So let's hop into what the fans have to say. What does Vince have to say, Dave?
So Vince is exactly what you're saying, right? It doesn't matter what Como says. If New York has its, it's lifting its restrictions, this is only going to matter from the NFL's view, right? So like you said, the NFL is going to make this equitable for every team. They're not going to allow, some teams to come back, others to not. So this is going to come down to, regardless of what the states decide, it's just a indication or a green light to the NFL that they're like, okay, we're that state's good, right? Like, there's other ones that obviously have to drop. We're talking about a dozen plus, like 24 states that have teams, right? So all of those are going to have to kind of be in alignment before this happens. So it's a great comment there by Vincent. Totally on point there.
Anything else before we move on? Anything else in the chat section?
It's not looking like it. I think we're ready to move on here.
All right. Yeah, it's a pretty cut and dry segment, which brings us to our next one, which is probably going to get pretty heated in the comment section. I can assume that there's going to be some takes galore, and that is, excuse me there. That is sort of, sorry, pause here. I'm frozen. That is sort of the ESPN and the national media is sort of back in their realm of dissing the Buffalo Bills and sort of taking some shots at the Buffalo Bills. There was a segment that ran on Get Up. Now we're coming off of a sort of like a weird couple of weeks where the Buffalo Bills were getting a lot of national media love, and it was the Bills are going to be one of 4 teams to win 12 games. The Bills are going to be one of, guaranteed to make the playoffs. This many simulations put the Bills in the playoffs. It was a lot of national media love for Sean McDermott, for the team, for the draft, all of that things. But it's sort of coming back to earth a little bit the last couple of weeks. You can see from the screen here, ESPN ran a segment on Get Up, and I know one of my favorite follows on Twitter, John Brown Season, he screenshotted sort of, they did an AFC East quarterback draft, and it was Field Yates, it was Dan Graziano, and it was Ryan Clark. All 3 men had Josh Allen as their number 3 quarterback, a guy who made the play, is the only one of the quarterbacks on this list here that has made the playoffs on his own merit as a starter. Jarrett Stidham has made it as a backup. So one guy has two of these guys haven't really even taken snaps in the National Football League. Yet Josh Allen finds himself as number 3 on this list. Should the Bills Mafia feel disrespected by this AFC East quarterback rankings that that ESPN's Get Up did?
I think so. I mean, it is a little bit of disrespect, and it's like, it just shows you, like, the media will just kind of talk about any kind of narrative they want, even if it contradicts themselves. Here's a good comment coming in from Miguel, right? How can Tua be number 1 if he hasn't proven in the NFL yet? Josh hasn't been as good as hype, but Allen's improved, take his team to the playoffs, is third, is disrespectful. And I kind of agree, right? I mean, Darnold, we all know the story. Darnold was the higher draft pick, and we know that there were a lot of Bills fans out there who probably wanted Sam Darnold at that time, but we got Josh Allen. We traded up to get him. And the fact is that Josh Allen's the only one of these guys that's actually taken his team to the playoffs yet. It's a little bit unfair because Tua hasn't played a snap yet. And on that same token, it's not fair to really even compare him to Josh Allen yet. And then Jarrett Stidham, again, hasn't taken a snap yet for the Pats as a starting quarterback. So to me, having Josh Allen third as the only guy who kind of made the playoffs, and it's not like the Bills made the playoffs in spite of Josh Allen. Let's be clear about this. Josh Allen had a good season last year. He was responsible for a lot of key moments in Bills victories last year and a lot of key plays. He's a playmaker. And so it's not like 2017 or even, individual games that we've seen over the years where the Bills win in spite of the quarterback. They win because of a great defensive performance, whatever. They made the playoffs in large part due to Josh Allen. And look, a couple plays away from winning a playoff game. So I'm with Miguel here. I like the comment here. Feels like a little bit disrespectful, but again, use it as fuel. Use it as fuel if you're Josh Allen. Use it as bulletin board material if you need to, and just take that into practice, into camp with you. And to me, yeah, I just don't get it.
Yeah, I mean, to me, this is no more. This is just a perfect example of sort of this was a clickbait response. I mean, Get Up premiered over 2 years ago to abysmal ratings. Like, they have not been doing very good in the ratings. And this is a situation where I'm just getting sick and tired of ESPN. Like,
don't forget who's the host of Get Up. It's Greenberg, right? And he's a Jets fan. So I mean, take it for what you want.
We fall into this trap every time. I mean, this is a clear clickbait segment that they were doing here. I don't think that these 3 guys rationally think that Josh Allen is the 3rd best quarterback in the AFC East. I mean, we can have the conversation, and we're going to have the conversation right now between us and fellow Bills fans. And I think we're going to have a more intelligent conversation than the 3 of those guys had. I know that they're talking about long-term, and I know they're having a conversation, but I can guarantee you can probably rewind the tape back to last year on Get Up, and they were probably doing the same segment on the NFC North. And I guarantee you, if they were doing the same segment on the NFC North a year ago, you had what 4 quarterbacks do you have in the NFC North? Aaron Rodgers, Mitch Trubisky, Kirk Cousins, and Matthew Stafford. It's pretty clear cut to me that Mitchell Trubisky going into his 3rd year before he had that abysmal year that he had last year is probably still the 4th quarterback, because Matt Stafford has proven himself in this league, because Kirk Cousins has proven himself in this league. Aaron Rodgers has clearly proven himself in this league. Any right-minded person would put Mitchell Trubisky 4th on that list because he hasn't proven himself yet in the National Football League the way the other 3 have. But I guarantee you, if you would rewind the tape to last year, they probably would have had Mitchell Trubisky 2nd. They would have had Rodgers 1, Trubisky 2, and they would have been like, well, the upside of Mitchell Trubisky is endless. All of these things, and talking up Mitch Trubisky. Why are they doing it? They're doing it for clicks. They're not doing it because they actually believe it. You see that Mitch Trubisky came back to earth. So to me, like, even if they did the NFC North this year, I wouldn't be surprised if they took Nick Foles ahead of a guy like Matt Stafford or Kirk Cousins, because that's what they want. That's what they want from you. They want you to get angry. They want you to get upset. Or if you're a fan of another team, like a bigger market, they want you to puff your chest out and make fun of those smaller markets. Everything they do for a reason. ESPN literally panders to the lowest common denominator. They don't care anymore about having intelligent sports conversations, and it's frustrating.
It is frustrating. And I mean, we've seen this kind of be the case with them. They'll talk about like LeBron for 8 hours straight, or they'll talk about whatever, Tua for 8 hours straight. So, I totally understand. Here's a nice comment here from Nate. Josh Allen's the best QB in the AFC's. He's best looking QB in shorts in the AFC's, which we know. When people haven't doubted the Buffalo Bills, we'll just have to show them. So again, it gets back to that kind of thought of like being the underdog, of being the chip, right? Like McDermott knows that this season is huge for this team, and it's huge for Josh Allen. So look, if there's some kind of chip he can keep adding to his shoulder and to the team's shoulder, even in a year where there's expectations that have been higher than we've seen in the last 2 decades, then that's fine. I'm okay with that. I don't think the players will worry about this too much, but if they can use it as a little extra chip on their shoulder, then so be it. And you're right about the clickbait. I mean, that's what it is. It's like it's kind of. I mean, to me, it's Darnold or Allen at this point should be the only conversation, only because they're the only two that have really actually played any games in that division so far. Yeah. So,
can I add a little fuel to Josh Allen's fire right now?
Yeah,
can I add a little fuel?
Do it.
I will be honest. I think that Sam Darnold definitely is, and Tua may very well be better passers than Josh Allen right now, currently. I'm being dead serious. I'm going to get flamed for that. I'm going to get made fun of for that. Just because they're better passers, though, doesn't mean they're better players and doesn't mean they're better quarterbacks, because Josh Allen brings a different dimension that those two don't bring. He has the legs and he can make plays with his legs. He can make plays out of the pocket. He is a playmaker, things of that nature. He's got a bigger arm than Sam Darnold and Tua Tagovailoa. He's got a bigger stature about him. You don't have to worry as much about injuries. Has Josh Allen gotten dinged up? Sure. But for the shots he takes, he's proven to be far more durable thus far in their careers than Tua Tagovailoa has in college. And that Sam Darnold has proven to be in the NFL. So Allen is the kind of quarterback when you're building a franchise that you want a Josh Allen. Lucas is here saying, I usually agree with you, but this is a pretty hot take. I don't think it's that hot of a take. I don't think there's many people out there who will say Sam Darnold isn't as good of isn't a worse passer than Josh Allen. Sam Darnold is a very good passer of the football. That doesn't mean he's the better player. That doesn't mean he's the better quarterback. Josh Allen brings these other dimensions to his game. Josh Allen is a guy who makes plays. Sam Darnold and Tua Tagovailoa are guys who facilitate plays. And that's the difference between these two guys. And that's why I would put Josh Allen number one. Josh Allen is the kind of guy who can maybe overcome lackluster talent. There's going to be a day and age where the Buffalo Bills aren't going to be able to surround Josh Allen with what they're surrounding him right now. Josh Allen is the type of quarterback who might be able to put an offense together with little less talent around him that allows you to load up the defense or allows you to load off the offensive line. Darnold and Tua are always going to need those playmakers. If you go into the season, you got Stephon Diggs, you got John Brown, Cole Beasley, Zach Moss, Dawson Knox, Devin Singletary, the pretty decent offensive line that we have. If you go into the season with Josh Allen, I'm pretty confident Josh Allen's going to have a good year. If you put Sam Darnold on this Buffalo Bills roster right now, Sam Darnold might have just as good, if not a better year than Josh Allen if you switch jerseys on them right now. But I can guarantee you Josh Allen would have a better season on the New York Jets roster than Sam Darnold would, because Josh Allen is better equipped to overcome deficiencies on the offensive line. Josh Allen is better equipped to overcome maybe not having the stud receiver because he can work guys open as he gets out of the pocket. Josh Allen can do more things. Josh Allen's ceiling is more Patrick Mahomes, is more game-breaking, championship-winning quarterback than Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold's more like a Matt Ryan, where he has to facilitate. And I think Tua is going to be the same way. So people who are bashing me and saying, oh, how dare you say Josh Allen isn't as good a passer? I mean, Josh Allen's got a lot to work on as a passer. Those two are probably better passers. But I think Josh Allen's a better quarterback, and I think he's got a way higher ceiling. So I think it's absolutely absurd that those two rank Josh Allen number one. It's clearly the fact that they don't think Josh Allen is ever going to reach that ceiling, which is something I'm going to disagree with because he's gotten better every single year he's played.
Yeah, and I mean, look, all we have to do is take just a quick trip down memory lane back to Josh's rookie year when he came in and think about how much different the roster was in 2019 than it was in 2018, his rookie year, right? I mean, you're talking about he's playing with a half-ass Kelvin Benjamin. He's playing with Zay Jones, who couldn't catch anything, early in the season before we traded him. I mean, you're talking about LaShawn McCoy that wasn't 100%. Yes, Chris Ivory had some nice moments. I mean, we still had Charles Clay at the time. Like, you're talking about like a roster that was deficient, and I didn't even start talking about the O-line, right? So again, like, to me, you saw some of these magical moments from him in his rookie season that then became a little bit more commonplace and a little bit more efficient in his second year, right? We all remember that throw to Robert Foster against the Jags, right? We all remember the rushing touchdowns that he had against the rushing touchdown he had and the leap he had against the Vikings, right? We remember these plays. And then what we saw from him last year was the progression, right? He got a little bit better. He really was stellar in those intermediate range throws. Did he still have some deep ball issues? Yes, of course. But he also hit on a couple, right? He hit John Brown, in the Pats game, he hit John Brown in the Denver game. So the progression is there. And then without a doubt, the intangibles of his leadership, his grit, his willingness to win. I think someone made a comment about like sacrificing the body. I think a couple people did, the Dallas 4th down play. That's a play that Josh Allen makes, and that's not a play that any of those other 3 quarterbacks, I believe, can make. I haven't seen him make any plays like that. So, and then the arm talent obviously wins out, I think, for him as well. So to have him 3rd on the list, again, it's a travesty. But we'll see. I still think Sam Darnold's going to be a very good quarterback in the NFL, but I just think as of right now, if you're just taking their body of work and what they've done so far, like it doesn't make sense to me to rank Darnold ahead of Allen.
Yeah, and you see Nate Crossway's comment. I've never heard of someone who has watched Buffalo Bills Josh Allen tape and not been impressed. I don't think Nate understands that Pro Football Focus exists. Hey, have you ever been to Pro Football Focus? Any Pro Football Focus Twitter's website, any Twitter account, you will know that the Josh Allen hate is real. And Dave, I don't know if you've actually seen this yet, so I'm going to surprise you with this next graphic. We're going to talk about national media disrespect. Of all the people I expected the national media disrespect to come to, Matt Miller of Bleacher Report, NFL Draft Scout on Twitter, a guy I really respect. This was the last guy I expected to see this from. And I'm going to put this full screen. That's how much I want it to be seen right now. Look at this graphic that Matt Miller of the Bleacher Report put up. I got to add the screen here. This is crazy. And if we could take the comment banner away so we can see it in full, this is an insane graphic here. Build your perfect Josh Allen. So you've seen these build your perfect teams, build your perfect whatevers. You get $15 to spend. But this is absolutely trash. I mean, I was not expecting this. Look at the $1. The $1 section is what really set me off. I get that it's $1, but I mean, this is some lowest common denominator humor you're going for here. Matt Miller for $1. Josh Allen decides he actually wants to raise a family in Buffalo for whatever reason. I mean, come on, dude. The cheap shots at Buffalo, come on. Jumps off an RV onto a folding table before preseason game, and Jake Fromm starts 16 games. Play results in him getting his 5th-year option decline. That's like the most tame thing he's put on this bingo board here. Doesn't try to kill his running back when he throws the slip screen. Has the best statistical season in franchise history. Not that that's saying much. I mean, come on. This is just a ridiculous bingo board here from Matt Miller. You go up to the $5 section, doesn't tweet a racial slur. I mean, this is just the big mean media doesn't libel him for clicks. Like, come on. Matt Miller, you are better than this. Like, this isn't even funny. This is just insulting. He clearly made this so he could add 15, 20 followers and get his tweets boosted up when Bills Mafia flamed him. And then here it is, Pro Football Focus, Eric Eager responding with, dude, I'm rolling. Real funny. It's not even humorous at this point. It's just insulting. And it's like they're putting no effort into their humor. They're putting no effort into their analysis because they know that we're going to fall for it. And like, I'm falling victim right now as a fanatic. I'm getting worked up about it. I'm falling victim to it. When
Did
I
you even?
shouldn't be.
Did you
I
even
should just
see
be
that?
hitting the unfollow button. That's what I should be doing.
Yeah. Did you see that? You didn't even mention the bottom line there, the $16 win a
Oh yeah,
playoff
win a
game.
playoff game. I mean, come on. It's just getting ridiculous. Like right when we turned a corner and getting some national media respect, some people I respect, like Matt Miller, just turning around and doing that. It makes me angry, man. It makes me angry.
It's unfortunate because I mean we see, we're all of us here, like us,
Mhm.
the guys in the comments, like everybody here, we're consumers of more Bills type information than we are probably any other team. And it does have that feeling that Josh doesn't get the fair shake and the fair respect he deserves. And people will say like, oh, like, well, people have to make sure that the narratives they made before the draft when he got drafted, like stay true and that they didn't expect him to be good. Well, there was a lot of people that thought he could be the number one overall pick in that draft as well, right? Including Mel Kiper. So
Yeah.
like, the point I'm trying to make is that there are many, many quarterbacks that have been drafted over the years in the first round that have been completely flamed out, have had no semblance of success in the league at all, and they haven't gotten flamed as bad as Josh Allen has. So, it's just another thing to add to the the notch in the belt of disrespect to Josh.
It's the narrative trying to this has been said before by many other people, and they're correct, 100% correct. It's these media people, whether it's Pro Football Focus or it's Matt Miller or it's Ryan Clark, they're trying to fit Josh Allen's career trajectory to the narrative that they had on draft day. On draft day, Josh Allen is a toolsy prospect who's never going to turn into anything. He sucks. He's terrible. Blah blah blah. Like that was what 95% of people in the media were saying on draft day. So now, 2 years later, when he's shown that, like, hey, he's not embarrassed himself in the National Football League and he's still got room to grow. Instead of saying like, there's been a lot of positives, there's been a lot of negatives, but he's still got some room to grow. Instead of saying that, they're just trying to hop on this negative sort of narrative to build off of and make their takes on draft day sound more intelligent and sound better. So it's just them unwilling to look in a mirror and saying like, hey, you know what? I was wrong on draft day. This guy's got what it takes to hang in there in the National Football League. Whether he becomes a star or not, who knows? But he's certainly showing signs of being an NFL caliber quarterback. I don't think you can agree with that. So, yeah, it's getting a little old. It's getting a little repetitive. How about you read Billy's comment there for us?
Yeah, I mean, you just hit the word repetitive, right? And Billy and like all of us probably were getting tired of repeating ourselves saying the same thing, right? One full season as a starter, great point, because he missed some games, right? We know with that elbow injury his rookie season, and like I was saying earlier, like he had a very poor supporting cast around him in those games he did play. Great point about having the brand new offensive line last year. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later, but that can't be understated either, right? And now we're starting to see that the Bills front office is making moves that indicate they're ready to go for a run here with Josh as the quarterback, which they should do while he's on his rookie contract. So good comment here from Billy Reynolds. I love that comment right there.
All right, let's transition to the next topic. But before we do, let's have a conversation about what we here at the Bills Guys are willing to do for you guys, the fans. If you head over to BF Fan Shop, we have some of the best Bills gear in town, from Mr. Process to You Dig. We used to have the Buffalo versus everybody. I know they're working hard to try to give that back. There's been some issues with that, but you head over to the BF Fan Shop and they have some of the best gear in town. So if you're looking for some new Bills gear, head over to the BF Fan Shop. I apologize. And we here at the Bills Guys, we're willing to hook you up. So it's already pretty affordable over there at the BF Fan Shop. I think a shirt is like $25. That's pretty good.
It's less than that.
In this day and age, it might even be less than that. And on top of that, we're willing to give you 10% off of any purchase you make. Type in promo code Bills Guys. That's BILLSGUYS. And we will hook you up with 10% off any Bills gear in the BF Fan Shop. So make sure you head over there and we will hook you guys up. So let's turn our attention now to the offensive line. And is that what the top says? Does it say offensive line?
National media hating on the Bills. That's what.
there you go. There you go. Offensive line in 2020. I'm getting used to it.
Working out the kinks.
Working out the kinks. It's very hard to be your own producer and talk at the same time. So I'm working on it. Maybe we have to hire a guy with the money we don't have. But again, our takes now, we're going to talk about the offensive line and what are our feelings about the offensive line heading into 2020. And while we are giving our takes, I want you guys in the comment section to tell us, what do you want the Bills offensive line to look like? Like, what's your hot take? Like, what guys shouldn't be starting? What guys should be starting? What do you want to see your 5 guys be? Like, what do you want to see as Bills fans? I know that we have takes, but you guys have takes too. I want you to listen to us. I want you to post your own takes, and let's have a conversation here. And Dave, let's start with you. What offensive line do you want to see left to right for the Buffalo Bills in 2020? Do you want to see not what you think Brandon Beane will do? What you want to see?
Yeah, so this actually might be this is kind of a hot take for me, I guess, because I've kind of been of a differing opinion up until about now. I've kind of thinking about the future and thinking about this season. My offensive line that I want to see is probably the one that the Bills are going to put on the field, which I don't think is one that maybe a lot of people do want to see. And that's left to right: Dawkins at left tackle, Spain at left guard, Morse at center, Feliciano at right guard, and Cody Ford at right tackle. And I know that a lot of people don't want to see Cody Ford at right tackle. They want to see him bumped inside. But here's my reasoning for this, right? The Bills drafted Cody Ford to play tackle. We have John Feliciano for 1 more year on his contract. We have Ty Nsekhe for 1 more year on his contract. You signed Darrell Williams for a 1-year contract. If Cody Ford isn't playing right tackle for you, what is your long-term plan here? You're not going to put Darrell Williams at right tackle to play for 1 year on a 1-year contract. Ty Nsekhe's coming to the end of his contract. He's better suited probably to play left tackle. He did play right tackle a bit, but I just don't see any other scenario where Cody Ford isn't playing right tackle for this team. And I feel that I want him to have the chance to win that job and to excel. He played it last year, obviously, but I want him to have a chance to excel and develop. And if he's not starting and if he's not playing regularly at that spot, he's not going to do that. So it also, as a byproduct, gets you John Feliciano on the field at right guard. And we know he's got that nasty streak to him and the guys in the locker room love him. I do think Cody Ford is one of your best 5 offensive linemen on this roster. While he may not be at his peak playing tackle right now, I do think that combination gets you your best 5 offensive linemen on the field. So that's what I'm going to say. And I'm actually going to be a big supporter of Cody Ford this year at right tackle for the sheer purpose of him trying to develop and really kind of blossom into that right tackle that we all hope he can be. So I'm going to stick with that.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm with you. I'm actually with you here. I'm going to agree with you here, and for a couple of reasons. One, for exactly what you just said. That's what they drafted him to do. We got to see if he's able to do it. Josh Allen is the type of quarterback who will probably allow Cody Ford to have success at right tackle, even if his body limits his ability to play right tackle, because Josh Allen's the kind of guy who can buy time. He's the kind of guy who can sort of help your offensive lineman. You can maybe go for more of a road grader run blocker at your tackle position because Josh Allen could buy himself some time. So that's one thing in Cody Ford's favor. The other, you mentioned the contracts. Deion Dawkins' contract is up next year. So do we really want to, if we kick Cody Ford inside the guard and Deion Dawkins, we maybe can't afford him, do we want to replace both of our tackles next year? Is that something we really want to find ourselves in a position to do? And I think this sets us up. If Cody Ford is your starting right tackle, it sets us up the best in terms of depth, because Mitch Morse has an injury history. If Mitch Morse gets hurt, John Feliciano can kick into center, and now you have Darrell Williams to play right guard as opposed to Darrell Williams, who would have been your right tackle. Well, if Cody Ford's the right guard, John Feliciano could just come off the bench and be your center. Well, what if Deion Dawkins gets hurt? Now Ty Nsekhe is available to shift over to be on the left side. So by starting Feliciano and by starting Ford, you're leaving Darrell Williams on the bench to be a backup at both right side positions. You're leaving Ty Nsekhe to be a backup at left tackle, and you're leaving John Feliciano the ability to kick to left guard or center if there's an injury to Spain or Morse. So it really gives you so much flexibility. And I'll say this: if I were to grade the Bills' offensive line on a scale of 1 to 10, I'd probably give them a 7. And people might say that's crazy, but I mean, Quentin Spain isn't exactly a road grader. Mitch Morris isn't exactly a road grader. They're both more pass blockers than they are run blockers. Like, this offensive line has deficiencies. Cody Ford can get blown by. John Feliciano takes penalties. Like, they're not perfect. They're nowhere near perfect, but their depth is insane. And nowadays in the National Football League, a 7 out of 10, that's light years ahead of 80% of the teams.
I know.
Like a 7 out of 10 rated offensive line might be the 7th best offensive line in the National Football League with the way contracts and things are handed out and the way rosters are managed. So, I mean, I'm with you. I think we got to give the guy a chance.
I agree, and I was like doing my notes before the show, and I kind of did a on a lettering scale, right, from like an A to an F, and I said the Bills right now are a B plus on the O line, and they do have some things working in their favor, right? The continuity of bringing back the same starters from a year ago in an off season that's been a little weird, right? And like guys haven't been able to get together yet, so that counts for something. They're that B plus line that has the potential to go to an A line with guys taking steps forward, right? Another year of continuity, Ford taking a step forward, Morris avoiding injuries, Spain maybe upping, Spain had a good season last year, but maybe improving his run blocking a little bit. Dawkins, obviously, we didn't hear from him last year, which is not necessarily a bad thing. And if Feliciano can, maybe improve his game a little bit. So like, I kind of liken the Bills offensive line to like that B student in college who like is smart enough to get by without really studying, but like if they just studied a little more or worked a little harder, they could be an A student. So like I want to see the Bills do that this year and become like an A offensive line. And the contract situation is the other thing that you mentioned. And so Dawkins, Feliciano, Williams, like these guys are not under contract in 2021. So like while we're talking about 2020, my confidence level is pretty high, not to get in my head of myself, but this leaves a question as to what this line is going to look like beyond 2020. So that's why I kind of left it like in that kind of, like you said, that 7 range or B plus range, taking kind of like all these things into account.
Yeah, no, I got Devin Demigod 7777 says, I would think 6 out of 10 due to Feliciano. He was way too unreliable and took plenty of sacks. There are plenty of takes here in the comment section. Let's scroll through some of them. Otto Lyon says, Josh was mobile 2 years ago. He needs to prove he could stay in the pocket, which he did this past year. Now, if you improve the run blocking, you have potential of getting the best of the 2 years of Josh Allen's development. I'm totally in agreement with you. And I think that's the upside that Josh Allen gives you, Otto, is Josh Allen could make plays on his own without the offensive line's help. Like how many times did we see Josh Allen escape and make a play? So if you are able to maybe put guys who are more run blocking first on your offensive line because your quarterback can make those kind of plays, then you're going to be able to run the ball really well and still pass the ball really well. This is part of the component that I think those ESPN guys were not taking into account. When Sam Darnold's your quarterback, when Tua Tagovailoa is your quarterback, you better be damn sure that you have pass block first offensive line. Pass block first. Priority number 1. Priority number 2. Priority number 3 is pass blocking. Priority number 12 is run blocking. And that's going to affect your game at some point. Josh Allen gives you an ability, and Bill makes another great point. You can't change, you can't gel, and you can't build a great offensive line without continuity. And I saw another a great point by Nate Crossway. He said, no, but we have Trey Adams UDFA. And this is a point that we got to on our podcast before we were a vidcast. When we were just a lowly old podcast, I had this take, and I think you're in agreement with me, that the Buffalo Bills, when we were leading up to the draft, I said the Buffalo Bills were in this position that other teams should be jealous of, that we're like 8 deep on the offensive line with NFL caliber talent. Like even Evan Boehm, who's like the 8th or 9th guy in this offensive line, is a guy who started in this league and not embarrassed himself. So the Buffalo Bills are so deep on the offensive line. So I wanted the Buffalo Bills badly to, in the middle rounds, pull the trigger on a Ben Barch or a Cameron Clark or an Alex Taylor, like a toolsy offensive lineman from a smaller school that could be developed. A guy who 3 years from now, you're not saying like, oh, there's our 7th offensive lineman. There's our Ike Bucker, our Ryan Bates, a guy who could turn into a Jason Peters, who had that sort of ceiling, who had that sort of potential. Because we have that luxury. We can redshirt a guy, make him your 8th offensive lineman, your 9th offensive lineman. He never has to put a jersey on game day with how deep our offensive lineman is. You could turn him into the offensive lineman you want him to be. So don't look for the guy who's already head smart and maybe is lacking in the physical capabilities. Look for the guy who's got the body and teach him how to be an offensive lineman. The Buffalo Bills went out and they did that with Trey Adams. Trey Adams, before his injury, was being compared to Joe Thomas. So the Bills might not have done it on draft day, but they sure as hell hit the nail on the head as a UDFA with Trey Adams, a guy who, if it wasn't for knee injuries, could have been a first-round draft pick, a guy who people talked about like Joe Thomas. So this is a guy who can come in, and if he makes the Bills roster, this is a guy you could probably hide in the practice squad. But if he does make the roster as the 8th guy, he doesn't have to see the field for a year. He doesn't even have to touch it. Unless we're in a game late in the year, like the Jets game last year, where we've already clinched a playoff spot, he doesn't need to see the field. And you can turn him into something. So a year from now, 2 years from now, instead of a guy who's like, oh, well, we have a really good backup here. It's hey, we have a guy who could start at right tackle, a guy who could start at left tackle. So great point. Great point, Nate, with the Trey Adams addition there.
Yeah, and Davian Price makes another good comment, right? The tight ends improving their blocking will help the entire O-line. And I know we're kind of talking about the O-line here, but this is an extension, right, of the offensive line. So if guys like Tommy Sweeney can continue developing, guys like Dawson Knox can be an every down tight end. I mean, Dawson Knox has the mold to be an every down tight end to help block. You put a guy like Dawson Knox on the field, you put a guy like Tyler Croft or Tommy Sweeney on the other side, you create issues for the defense when you have tight ends on the field who aren't strictly run blockers or aren't strictly pass receiving options, right? So that also helps your offensive line, because if you put a formation on the field with an extra tight end or 2 tight ends, and all of a sudden maybe you're passing out of that formation, or maybe you're running out of it, like you're keeping the defense on its toes. So
and here's another thing too. We talk about Lee Smith. No offense to Lee Smith. He was a glorified blocker. When he was on the football field last year, everybody knew what the Buffalo Bills were doing. They were running the football. They were out there in heavy personnel. Maybe, just maybe, if Cody Ford is starting at right tackle, you can cut Lee Smith, have the more versatile Dawson Knox, have the more versatile Tommy Sweeney, the more versatile Tyler Croft, save an extra roster spot for a Duke Williams, make him sort of a hybrid tight end, wide receiver, big slot type of guy. Save that roster spot for Duke Williams. And now you have a guy in Ty Nsekhe who's just sitting on the bench with nothing to do. We saw it back in the day with Rex Ryan. He would bring Ryan Groy out and make Ryan Groy and, maybe it was Jonchel Henderson. It was one of them. Ryan Groy, one of the other guys. He would make them, tight ends on obvious running downs. If everyone knows Lee Smith is just out there to run block, why not send Ty Nsekhe out there instead? Why not send Darrell Williams out there instead? By keeping those guys on the bench, you also open up the possibility that you can use them in 22 personnel as your blocking tight end when everybody knows you're running anyway, and save a roster spot for a better player. And the old PTSD Lee Smith comments.
This keeps coming up, man. It's like people really have the PTSD for Lee Smith. And it's funny, the one play that I actually tried to pass. Well, I shouldn't say the one play, but the play that sticks out to me where they actually use Lee Smith as a receiver. He caught a touchdown against the Titans. So
because no one expected it.
Exactly.
But guess what? Deion Dawkins caught 2 touchdowns. Has caught 2 touchdowns in his career. So I'm sure we could teach Ty Nsekhe how to clutch onto a football the same way Lee Smith does. So, to further that point, I would rather have an offensive lineman fill the role of Lee Smith, because Lee Smith wasn't even playing that much special teams. I mean, we did a podcast after that New England game where I was spitting fire because Lee Smith played 2 snaps. What the hell was the point of having Lee Smith on that Sunday, taking up a roster spot?
Here's a great question by Miguel Melendez. If we don't pay Deion Dawkins, we know he's a free agent after this season. Is Trey Adams a possible replacement? Probably not right away, but maybe down the road. We just don't know. It's a guy like Steve was saying, he could develop. He has the ceiling.
That's one of those things where you would, if Deion Dawkins walks, you would maybe try to re-sign Ty Nsekhe to a 1-year deal, because like we said, Ty Nsekhe's probably a better left tackle than he is a right tackle. And you would go into training camp and say, Ty Nsekhe, Trey Adams, duke it out. What you have in Ty Nsekhe, he'll buy you a year. And maybe Trey Adams turns into something. So you can wait another year before maybe addressing the offensive line in the draft, or maybe having to go out and pay a free agent. So you can buy yourself a year and see if you can get something in Trey Adams on the cheap. And if Trey Adams turns out it didn't work out, well, you still had Ty Nsekhe there. And Ty Nsekhe is still probably a league average left tackle when he's playing, as opposed to Deion Dawkins, who's probably slightly above average. So honest to goodness, I love Deion Dawkins as much as the next guy. The difference between Ty Nsekhe and Deion Dawkins isn't $10 million. I would rather, go into the 2021 season with the 36-year-old Ty Nsekhe and maybe something in Trey Adams for $4 million or $5 million, then pay Deion Dawkins $14 million or $15 million, which is something that he might, get on the market.
This offensive line story is going to be fascinating, not so much for 2020, but for beyond 2020, right? Because Bean spent a lot of time and resource and free agents and draft with Ford kind of rebuilding this offensive line from the bottom up, really, right, outside of Deion Dawkins. And there are a lot of potential free agents in this group heading into 2021. Dawkins, obviously, you think about the guys, only Spain, like you have Spain, Morse, and Ford are your only three guys right now in the starting line that we have under contract past 2020. And you're potentially losing depth guys like Inseki, Feliciano, Dawkins, right? You have to ask yourself, are you comfortable with guys like Spencer Long potentially filling a key role? Are you comfortable with that? I don't think that I am. So it'll be interesting to see how they address those free agents to be, I guess, is the way to put it.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Before we move on to our next topic, chatwithbf.com. Seriously, after the show, or actually right now, take your phone out, go and download the Flick Chat app on your mobile device, whether it be an Apple or an Android. Go to the Buffalo Fanatics channel, chatwithbf.com, and join the Buffalo Fanatics community. This app is seriously awesome. We just reached 1,000 followers, so there's 1,000 fellow Bills fans there with you. It's like the Buffalo Bills message of old, board of old, Twitter, Instagram. Like, it's all rolled into one, and the best part about it is, like, there's no outside noise. There's no politics. There's no, any of these like things that you see on Twitter. It's all Bills talk all the time with fellow fanatics like yourself. We just reached 1,000 followers, and Pierre and Rico promised we will do a giveaway at 1,000 followers. So if you get on there tonight and you become the 1,001st, 1,002nd, 1,003rd follower, you screenshot it, you put it right there in the app, in the channel or the forum that is allotted, you are going to get a pretty good chance at winning some free Buffalo Fanatic swag. So get on chatwithbf.com, the Flick Chat app. It is awesome. We are there daily. The founders are there daily. We're having conversations with Bills fans like yourself, keeping that conversation going even when we're not out on the vidcasting in the vidcasting world. So get out on there on the Flick Chat. All right, ladies and gentlemen, our last segment for tonight. What we want to do is we want to turn the show over to you guys. Whatever you guys want to discuss, whether it be questions, whether it be comments, whether it be takes, talking points, whatever, we are turning the rest of this show over to you guys for the next 15 minutes. What do you guys want to talk about? Hit us up in the comment sections. As always, super chatters are appreciated and get priority. So let us know what you guys want to talk about, and we'll have that conversation right now. I know Dave's vigorously working the comment sections. You got the unenviable task of having to work the comment sections. I get to do the easy stuff.
Well, I'm gonna put a loaded one up there to start with. Wide receivers, who stays, who goes? Ooh. This is a loaded question, and we kind of talked about it last week. So I think we're a little bit more prepared this week to talk about it. So we talked about, the first question is like, how many are we going to keep? Right, 6 or 7. So I think we're going to keep 6. That's my personal opinion. I think Andre Roberts, for the reasons I mentioned last week, is going to make it. We've got our big 3, Diggs, Beasley, and Brown. So that's 4 right there. That leaves 2 more spots for receivers. And I think both the rookies make the team. I think Gabe Davis and Isaiah Hodgins are your 5th and 6th receivers. And I think fan favorites like Duke Williams and Isaiah McKenzie are at least right now maybe on the outside looking in. So that's kind of my initial take right here as we talk about this in the end of May before we get to practices.
And like guys like Tommy Sweeney and Cody Ford are going to be pivotal to this, because if Tommy Sweeney can show that he's a two-way tight end and he can block and he can go out and catch passes, if Cody Ford proves he can be your right tackle, that allows you to cut guys like Lee Smith, allows guys like Ty and Seki to come in and play in those 12 personnel situations. It allows you to possibly keep that 7th wide receiver. Because if I'm looking at it right now, Diggs, Brown, Beasley are locks. Gabe Davis, because of his draft capital, is a lock. That's 4 guys right there. I would probably say Andre Roberts, because Sean McDermott likes to have a kick returner that secures the football and can maybe give you a couple yards here and there. So that's 5 guys right There. So that leaves that 6th spot open. Do you want size? Well, now it's Duke Williams versus Isaiah Hodgins. Do you want both? Well, it's probably hard to get both. Do you want that speedy gadget guy in Isaiah McKenzie? Well, now you're sacrificing your size. So there's so many questions because Gabe Davis, just because he's 6'3", 220, doesn't mean he's that go up and get it red zone threat. Isaiah Hodgins is a better red zone threat. Duke Williams is probably a better red zone threat than Gabe Davis. Gabe Davis is more your replacement for Robert Foster. Just because he's a big body doesn't mean he's a go up and get it guy. He's more of a down the field stretcher type of guy. So it's tough. It is tough. I'm going to say the odd man out for sure. I think Robert Foster is going to have a hard time finding his way into this roster, especially with Tywan Jones now coming in and having the ability to gun. And I hate to say it, but I think Isaiah McKenzie is going to have a hard time finding a spot on this roster because I think that last spot is going to be going to the size guy unless we cut down the number of tight ends we have and, add a wide receiver and keep 7 receivers.
This is going to be one of the more fascinating things to follow this offseason, right? Because this wide receiver room is pretty deep now, right? Like last year, fairly top heavy, right? With John Brown and Beasley. The rest of the room was a little bit up for grabs. So it's a little bit different this year. Truth to hearts, doesn't make sense that both rookies make the team, but I get that point. It's going to be tough Gabe Davis is probably going to make the team based on the fact that he's a 4th round pick. Isaiah Hodgins may be a better case that he doesn't make the team as a 6th rounder, but I think you're going to have a hard time sneaking him onto your practice squad. I have a feeling someone probably sneak him off waivers before he would make it. So good comments there. Love those. Next question we've got, Steve. How will our D-line fare during, we'll just say, the first couple games, assuming Ed Oliver's suspended? We don't know exactly how that's going to shake out. It could be nothing. It could be 2, it could be 3, it could be 6. We don't know. But let's just say in the first couple weeks, generally speaking, how is our D-line going to fare against the likes of Le'Veon Bell, against the likes of Jordan Howard and Matt Breida, without Ed Oliver potentially being on the field due to a potential suspension?
I think we'll be fine. I think, will we be elite? Will we be as good as we can be? Obviously not. But I think we'll be fine. If you look at the analytics, the 2 of the top 10 interior pass rushers in all of the National Football League last year were Ed Oliver and Quentin Jefferson. So you have a guy like Quentin Jefferson who's going to slide inside and can fill some of that sort of that dynamic pass rusher ability that Ed Oliver would have given you. AJ Epinesa sort of fell into our lap in the 2nd round. He's got an ability to play the 3 technique. And we mentioned on our last show, if the suspension comes early, that's actually in the Buffalo Bills' favor because they can keep a guy like Vincent Taylor, who probably would be cut, on the roster. So you slide Ed Oliver onto the suspended list. You keep Vincent Taylor for the first 3 weeks of the season. Vincent Taylor is a league average defensive tackle, a guy you can plug and play who won't embarrass himself. Are the Bills going to be the best version of themselves? No. Ed Oliver has a chance to be an elite talent in the National Football League. There's no one else on this defensive line that has a chance to be anywhere close to as good as he is. That being said, they're more than capable of getting by. Last year we spent all off season retooling the offensive line, just adding body after body after body after body of players who might not be elite but aren't going to embarrass themselves in the National Football League. Then we went out and drafted Cody Ford, a guy who has a chance to make something of himself and be an above average starter. He's got those physical traits. The Bills essentially redid that on the defensive line this season. Well, last season we did the offensive line. This season we're going to do the defensive line. They add a bunch of guys who aren't going to embarrass themselves in the National Football League that'll go out and do their jobs, will play their 1/12th, or their 1/11th, portion of what they're doing. And then they went out and they drafted a guy who's got a chance to be more in AJ Epinesa. So are they going to rock the world? No, but they'll be fine.
Absolutely love what they did on the D-line. You miss Oliver, potentially. Think about these additions, man. I mean, you lose Shaq Lawson, I get it. You lose Jordan Phillips, but man, you bring in Epinesa, you bring in Mario Addison, you bring in another former first rounder in Vernon Butler, you bring in a versatile guy like Quentin Jefferson. Love what they did on the D-line. I think we'll be okay. Is Waddle still in the mix? As of now, no, he's not on the team. So I think Darrell Williams is kind of the guy they kind of replaced Waddle with. So no, he's not in the mix.
Waddle hasn't signed anywhere yet, but I guarantee you Adrian Waddle is waiting for training camp.
Yep.
Adrian Waddle is waiting for a team's tackle to tear an ACL, to break a leg, whatever it is. Adrian Waddle is waiting for somebody to get hurt or waiting for somebody to fall on their face or show up to training camp out of shape or completely, just do something that makes their team lose faith in them. And then Adrian Waddle will go out there and he will sign a 1-year deal with that team and try to get his way onto the football field, because that's how Adrian Waddle probably sees his way of making money. Go sign a 1-year deal somewhere, get on the football field, show what you can do, and then earn a bigger contract in 2021. So to me, it's a long shot. Adrian Waddle ends up back in the Buffalo Bills, just because there's no opportunity for him to see the football field here. He would be strictly a backup.
I agree. Here's a fun one, Steve. Steven Hauschka or Tyler Bass, the rookie, drafted rookie, by the way, in the 6th round, one of our 6th round picks. So who do you like winning the place kicker battle this year? Steven Hauschka or the rookie Tyler Bass?
I'll tell you what, I'm going to go with Hauschka, and I know it's probably not going to be very favorable with Bills Mafia, but this is a guy who's now 3 years removed from the Henry Anderson hit that sort of took his career off path. I will say this, the Cleveland game last year is the game that gives me the most pause on this take. Sean McDermott took a lot of chances on 4th down this year, and I don't think it's because Sean McDermott's a risk taker. I think it's because Sean McDermott didn't have any faith in his kicker, outside, past 50 yards. That being said, Tyler Bass, reading his scouting reports, reading everything about him, he has a high trajectory on his kicks, which helps him, make longer field goals, but also allows for, the wind to hang up, and he's not as accurate in the short to intermediate. So if Tyler Bass can come in and kick for kick, show up Steven Hauschka inside of 50 yards, he'll be our kicker this year, without a doubt. But if Tyler Bass can't at least show competency or be close to Steven Hauschka inside 50 yards, the Buffalo Bills made another really interesting addition this offseason in Corey Vedvik. Spelled Kari, pronounced Corey Vedvik. Corey Vedvik is a terrible kicker. He's a god-awful kicker, but he's a kicker with a really big leg who also punts. So if Corey Vedvik, whatever you want to call him, can win the punting battle, he can also be your kickoff specialist, which will take the pressure off of Steven Hauschka, maybe make him a better kicker because he's more rested. And those kicks from over 50 yards, you can throw Kari Vedvik out there and make Kari Vedvik sort of like your long field goal kicker specialist. So Steven Hauschka from inside 50, Corey Vedvik from outside 50, Corey Vedvik doing your kicking off and your punting. That's something you can consider.
We've seen that with other teams. We've seen the Colts do that in the past. I believe McAfee did kickoffs for them when he was their punter. So we've seen teams do that in the past. So very interesting.
So it's possible. So this is completely, like, I understand that we as Bills Mafia are completely mesmerized from these giant kicks that we're seeing Tyler Bass hit in practice. But I'll tell you what, unless he can do it in a game, unless he can do it with 11 guys charging at him, unless he can do it with the pressure of, well, maybe there won't be any pressure of fans in the stadium this year, but unless he can do it with the pressure of crowd noise and the game on the line, there's so many more intricacies that go into kicking than just being able to kick it really far, on TikTok or on Instagram. Like, there's more that goes into it than that. I'm not saying Tyler Bass isn't capable of doing those things. I'm just saying he's going to have to come into camp and prove it. And it's Steven Hauschka's job until Tyler Bass rips it away from him. And to do that, he's going to have to prove himself from inside 50, because we have some other plans in place from outside of 50 if Steven Hauschka can't kick those kicks anymore.
We've got another good comment question from Divine Demigod 777. Is Brian Daboll on the hot seat this year? I want to hear what you have to say about this one.
I'm going to say yes, but I'm going to say that offensive coordinators are on the hot seat every year. I mean, the NFL is such a copycat league. It's such a hot or cold. It's such a what have you done for me lately? If the Buffalo Bills come out this year and go 7-9, go 8-8, and their defense is still top 10, Sean McDermott might look for a scapegoat. Just because Sean McDermott is Mr. Culture, just because Sean McDermott is Mr. Team Building, all of these things doesn't mean that, when it comes down to it, he's not going to look for a way to save his job if people turn on him, especially in the media. So you saw him turn on Rico Dennison real quick. So that was the wise decision. It was the right decision. Good for you, Sean McDermott, for doing it. But if Brian Daboll, can't gel, at the end of the year, you're going to ask yourself, Josh Allen, if it doesn't work out on offense, is it Brian Daboll or is it Josh Allen? You've got a hell of a lot more invested in Josh Allen than you do Brian Daboll. So you might want to go out and you might want to try to find another offensive coordinator to get something out of Josh Allen before you hit the reset button on your franchise quarterback. So I would say he's on the hot seat, but I also have confidence that Brian Daboll and Josh Allen are on the same page, and they're going to, create an offense that does well enough where he won't get fired. But that being said, if you're not doing your job and the job's not getting done, somebody's going to have to pay the price, and I don't think it's going to be Josh Allen.
Yeah, I mean, by all accounts, Daboll and Josh Allen have a good relationship. We do need to look at this thing a little bit more objectively, I think, and realize that Brian Daboll has never really coordinated a top half of the league offense in his entire tenure in the NFL. So in my mind, he does have pressure on him this year, right? He's got all the, like, we brought in Diggs, right? We've got Zach Moss and Singletary back there now. We have Beasley, Brown, Knox in his second year, Josh Allen. So the O-line, again, same O-line as last year. So to me, this offense has to collectively take a step forward. And yes, a lot of this will be on Josh Allen as well, but it's that duo of Daboll and Josh Allen. If this was a very hot debate last year as well, right? When the offense was sputtering, was like, was it Josh Allen? Was it Daboll? So Daboll, like you said, he's the easier target, right, to blame, I think, in most cases, but we do have to be a little smarter about this and kind of look at sort of how things play out. But I would say, yeah, I think he's on the hot seat. Like you said, I mean, they're always on the hot seat. So,
yeah, Otto, continuity is key. Billy, people always want to scapegoat. That's life, unfortunately. What was it? We got an interesting comment here from Rage Dog. I'm gonna say dog because I like it. Rage Dog. If it's Diog, Rage Dog. Daboll's one excuse is Josh Allen, so if the offense still stutters, it's going to be folks arguing about execution versus play calling. I mean, that's the conversation we heard all last season. So it's the offseason. We don't have to worry about that right now. So we want to thank you guys. We've just reached our hour point. We did miss our one super chatter of the evening in the board at work. He commented, love the show. ESPN clickbait for sure. Bor, we apologize for missing you. We respect it. Anytime you guys can donate a super chat, it's greatly appreciated. It's money that helps us keep the show going. It's money that helps the Buffalo Fanatics keep doing what they're doing for the fans. So super chats are always appreciated. Thank you guys so much. You guys have a good night as always. Oh, you know what, Dave? I think we have enough time. For one more thing.
I know where
my head's at, right?
I think so. Yeah, I think I know where you're going with this.
Our Jabroni of the week.
Oh, Jabroni of the week. And you know what? He still
Tom Brady
somehow made it a positive, right? I mean, like, this guy was trash all day. He had the shot of the day, and that's all anyone's talking about. And like, it's just, oh my God, man. Somehow it's just worked out for him.
I'll tell you this: Pierre and Rico aren't going to be too happy with me, but I can't get enough of Tom Brady splitting his pants. So for the rest of our show, you see this little Buffalo Fanatics logo up in the right-hand corner. It's now going to be Tom Brady split pants there. I'm sorry, Pierre. I'm sorry, Rico. I had to do it. A couple of takes here. First of all, I'm pretty sure I can beat Tom Brady at golf. I think I can do it.
He's got that.
You golf more than me. Could you beat Tom Brady?
From what I saw, yeah, I could. But again, I didn't have national television pressure. That weather was brutal. I do think Tom Brady probably is a pretty decent golfer. He says he's in him and Peyton were both apparently 8 handicaps.
He said he didn't play footballs either, though.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's true. But I also think he, like, if you watched, I mean, it was a long day, but if you watched that back 9 where they were doing alternate shot, he kind of got it together. He was playing okay. I do think I could beat him, but I also think that, as a golfer, I know it's very easy to have a bad day. It's like there's such a high variance. You don't have a better score every time you play. That's just how it works.
Steven, thank you, sir. We really appreciate your super chat. He says, thanks, guys, for doing everything you do. We appreciate a lot. We appreciate you guys. Like we said, we're going to get better at this every week. We want to be a show for the fans. So when you guys, make comments, we want to be able to get to them. Like Dave and I have been working our butts off like every single day. Like, he's in charge of the comments. I'm in charge of the banners. We're going back and forth. We're trying to find a structure and something that works for us. So we really appreciate it. When you guys super chat us like that and give us some kind words. But if you guys have some feedback too, things that you think we can do better, that's always appreciated as well. I'll tell you what, here's my hottest take. I don't hate Tom Brady as much now that he's a Buccaneer as I did when he's a Patriot. It's sort of a little endearing to me, but I can't remember who said this comment on Twitter. They said that there's nobody in the world, like Tom Brady put on a brave face. Like, he was like, all right, cool. Like, I'm going to Teddy says, how do you donate? You got to do it through YouTube. So you got to have a YouTube account. Super chatters come from our YouTube shows. So I can see here you're watching through Facebook. So if you do want to donate, you'll have to come on through YouTube, but we do appreciate it. Somebody says like, this has got to be killing Tom Brady right now. Like he's putting on a brave face, but this has got to be killing him. So hopefully he doesn't take it out on the football field. Thank God we won't have to play him until the Super Bowl. But when he split his pants, for people who don't follow me on any other social media, it's currently my Twitter profile picture at Judge Mathis. It's currently my temporary Facebook profile picture. When Tom Brady split his damn pants, I just about lost it. And could that be the passing of the torch from the New England Patriots to the Buffalo Bills in the AFC East? Tom Brady splitting his pants. Like, could that be the passing of the torch?
God, I hope so, man. But we still got to, man. Yeah, I mean, I hope it is. We still got to do it on the field, though. That's the thing. We've talked about this so much. It's like we got to take it now. Like it's there for the taking, but we got to do it, right? We can't like they always say the games are played on the field. It's not on paper. So we actually have to go out there and play some good football this year and a really tough schedule to take this thing. So let's hope it is. I'm getting a little worried about you putting all these Tom Brady ass photos on all of your social media. So, like if you still have these in like a week's time or two, I might.
The Facebook one was a temporary profile picture, so it might actually be gone. I'm gonna see how long I can go on with the Twitter handle before it becomes uncomfortable. I'm thinking probably tonight now that you've made that comment. But
it's
not even that impressive of a butt, to be honest with you.
All right, we're going.
Josh Allen's got a way better butt. Josh Allen would have had a way bigger split because those pants would have just ripped off. If it was Josh Allen. It was just ripped off.
All right. We're going off the rails. We're late in the show now.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we really do appreciate it. We will be back Thursday evening. We will not be talking about Tom Brady's ass. I promise. We will be talking about the Buffalo Bills. We will be taking your questions. We'll be talking a little bit of defensive lines. So if there's any breaking news, we'll be talking that breaking news as well. So we appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much. As always, Dave, go Bills.
Go Bills.